All right. Hello, hello. How goes it? Let's see. I got to remember how to do this streaming thing. So let me click this. Let's show that logo here. How's it going, folks? Happy New Year. I'm glad to have you with me. I am Eric Usman, and we are back with a Zeal stream for the new year. Feels good, man. Feels good. So happy New Year's to you. And hopefully you had a good Christmas, Hanukkah, just holiday in general, and then good New Year's. Glad to be back. Had a wonderful break, relaxing. Planned out a couple things, got a couple things good and going, and looking forward to just getting stuff done this year. New change, new camera. Over the break, had the opportunity to actually play around with my iPhone and look into using it as a webcam, and it is a phenomenal camera, first of all. So it's like, why not try to see if I can use it as a webcam? And I can, and I am now. And so yeah, so that's what I'm gonna be using from now on, because the webcams are fine, but webcams are webcams. They're just like kind of crummy zoom and digital, blah 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 enhancement. But the camera, the iPhone camera has like a zoom. Look at that. It's like focus on my hand, focus on my face. It even has like, I'm using like that digital like studio light effect thing to like enhance coloring. So if you have an iPhone or an iPad, and string closed caption reminded me to turn on the captions. I already have them on, so I'll need to fix that. That could be something we can work on right now, actually. But let's focus on the task at hand. So if you have a Mac computer and you already have an iPhone or an iPad, you can use your camera as a webcam really easily, either plugged in or wirelessly. So cool. So it is the new year, and with the new year comes a new Ruby version. Oh my, a new Ruby version. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that and see what's up with that. Is the captions on, by the way? Let's double check. Because I want to see, because it's reminding me to turn on captions, but it's like, are the captions actually working? They don't appear to be working. Oh, there we go. Okay, just took a while for the WebSocket connection to initialize. Okay, cool. There we go. Close that. All right, that's one thing I need to work on. Let's make a note of it. I'm trying to be, with my new year, trying to make notes on stuff to try to get stuff done. So look into caption reminder being sent even if it's on. Okay, cool. All right. So new year, new Ruby. I want to try to pull up some stuff on that. So let's go ahead and try sharing my screen. Share a screen. We're gonna share this screen. Boop. And we'll go like that. And let's do this view here. Great. And let's pull up information about Ruby. 3.0. So let's go ahead and find out about Ruby 3.2. So let's read up about the new Ruby 3.2. So let's get into the news of things. So if you're not familiar with the way the Ruby ecosystem goes in terms of the language versioning is for, I don't know for how long now, but basically a new version of Ruby, a new patch version or major version is usually released, or minor version, not patch version, either a minor version or a major version. So either, the big number or the second number right there is usually released on Christmas. So as a little gift. And that's what happened. So with Christmas time, 25th right there, you can see right there, 3.2 was released. So that is cool. So let's read up about it. I've heard some rumblings already, like perusing. So let's read up about it and see what's going on, what's new with it, and maybe why we should probably upgrade to 3.2. So WASI-based WebAssembly support. This is an additional port of WASI-based WebAssembly support. This enables a C Ruby binary to be available on a web browser. Ooh. A serverless edge environment or other kinds of WebAssembly WASI embedders. That's really cool. Currently, this port passes basic and bootstrap test suites not using the Thread API. So this is like a preliminary thing that just to get basic Ruby execution in, but that means you could run Ruby in the browser and run Ruby in serverless edge environments. So that means you can execute code, execute Ruby functions and stuff like methods as close as possible to the users distributed. You don't have to have a central server hosting it from the sounds of it. And then because it's WASI WebAssembly embedders, that means we can probably get Ruby running on embedded devices more easily. Okay, let's see. So background, WebAssembly, WASM was originally introduced to run programs safely and fast in the web browser. I'm just realizing that. Let's try listening to some background music while we're at this. We'll put it down to 20. Okay. So run programs safely, fast in the web browser, but its objective, running programs efficiently with security in various environments, is long wanted not only for the web but also for general applications. Yeah. So and then WASI. So there's WASM, WASI, WebAssembly System Interface, is designed for such use cases. Though such applications need to communicate with the operating system, WebAssembly runs on a virtual machine which didn't have a system interface. WASI standardizes it. WebAssembly/WASI support for in Ruby intends to leverage those projects. It enables Ruby developers to write applications which run on such promised platforms. So the Ruby team is trying to expand the reach of Ruby to run in different platforms. So we can still write Ruby, but have that compiled down to WebAssembly and run it in the browser, run it on the edge. Run it on other platforms that instead are WebAssembly focused. Let's see. Prior to that, I think the most common go-tos might have been JavaScript and Rust. I think Rust is the most popular one. Use case. The support encourages developers to utilize C Ruby in a WebAssembly environment. An example use case is try Ruby Playgrounds, Ruby C Ruby support. You can try original C Ruby in your browser. Okay, let's try. We'll just open that up in a little bit. Let's keep on reading through. Technical points. Today's WASI and WebAssembly itself is missing some features to implement fiber exceptions, garbage collection because it's still evolving, and also for security reasons. It's still evolving also for security reasons. Yeah, okay. So C Ruby fills the gap by using asyncify, which is a binary transformation technique to control execution in userland. In addition, we built a VFS on top of WASI so that it can easily pack Ruby apps into a single WASM file. This makes distribution of Ruby apps a bit easier. That's cool. So yeah, so there's still some considerations. So it's still not production ready. But so Fiber is basically Ruby's threading implementation that was introduced in Ruby 3. But I think most commonly you would not encounter, on your average day-to-day any like touching anything about Fiber. Exceptions is something big that definitely need to be handled, and then garbage collection. Yeah, definitely for efficiency. Production Ruby, JIT just in time. Why JIT? I don't know what JIT says. So yeah, what is? So why? Let's see. So why JIT is no longer experimental. Has been tested in production work production loads for over a year and is proven to be quite stable. I need to read up about why JIT. Now supports both. It releases support for Apple. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I have to read up about that as I'm not familiar with why JIT. Because I know JIT is usually just in time for compilations because Ruby's an interpreted language. So why JIT? It's 41% faster in geometric mean than a Ruby interpreter. Okay, so there's a 41% increase. So YJ 3.2 release is faster than 3.1 and it has about 1/3 as much memory overhead. Ooh, that's cool. So it uses a third of the memory and it's 41% faster than in 3.1. Physical memory for the JIT code is lazy allocated. Unlike Ruby 3.1, the RSS of Ruby process is minimized because the virtual memory pages allocated by mem size will not be mapped to physical memory pages until actually utilized by the JIT code. Okay, so this saves. Okay, so if I understand correctly, based off what I know about Ruby and reading stuff about memory allocation and stuff like that, is one of the flaws with Ruby's memory allocation was that it would kind of like allocate physical memory too greedily. So, so the way operating systems like memory allocation works is like, let's say, your Ruby code needs to use, Ruby will try to reserve a certain amount of memory if you're starting to exceed, so you're going, it's only using 16 megabytes of memory, and then you're going to start to exceed that 16 megabytes of memory. Go and you start using 17 or 18. It doesn't just allocate 17 or 18. It might go ahead and allocate another 16 megabytes of memory. So now it's physically reserving 32 megabytes of memory for Ruby, taking up 32 megabytes of your entire, of your runtime memory space. But from the sounds of this, it does virtual. It allots a virtual memory, but will not be mapped to physical memory until it actually needs that code. So so if I am understanding this correctly, it won't just go ahead and just grab all, another 16 megabytes, another huge chunk of physical memory. It'll still hold off a little bit. Introduce garbage collection that frees all code pages when the memory constriction reaches. Okay, so this has to do with garbage collection optimizations. Yeah, this stuff I vaguely just understand because of my time spent in college studying this stuff and implementing small applications to test our reading and then testing the theories. Is now available in release builds. Ooh, that's cool. So now you can see these runtime stats. So I think let's see. So now optimize, take advantage of object shapes, take advantage of finer graining, constant invalidation, invalidate less code. The default exec mem size is changed to 64 megabytes. So yeah, so it looks like there's some other stuff about allocating memory. I think this is what this is. But it looks like we'll be able to get more stats. So come with 3.2 and you upgrading to 3.2, whatever tooling you use to track your your Ruby on Rails application, your Ruby application, we might be able to see even more fine-grained statistics to know exactly what's going on within our Ruby application, because trying to get visibility into what's going on in your Ruby application can be a little tedious. You know, you have to do a lot of manual stuff with that. So it looks like, you know, there's direct hooks to do that potentially. Regex improvements against RDOS. So the regular expressions. It is known that regular expression matching may take unexpectedly long. If your code attempts to match a possibly inefficient regex regular expression, against an untrusted input, an attacker may exploit it for efficient denial of service. So regular expression denial of service. Okay, so they explained it. There we go. Now I know what that is. It's regular expression denial of service. We have introduced 2 improvements that significantly mitigate regular expression denial of service. So improved regular expression matching algorithm. All right, cool. Since 3.2, regular expression matching algorithm has been greatly improved by using a memoization technique. So let's see. Let's look at this. So we have a little example of this. This match takes 10 seconds in Ruby 3.1 and 0.003 in Ruby 3.2. Okay. Oh, interesting. Because so this is generating a string with 50,000 A's and an X. So 50,000 A's in a row with 50,000 A's and an X. And then what this is trying to do is it's trying to see if it starts with an A infinite, like as many times as it takes, and then is there a B? So basically, is there a B somewhere inside the A? Any number of A's, between any number of A's. And then this will just like blow up because it's trying to scan the entire string, I'd imagine. So then it went boop. Oh yeah, and then like you can't even see Ruby 3.2. So you can see over time, it just keeps on going and going and going and going and going. So like it is, what do you call it? Logarithmic, I think that's what you want to call it. But anyway, you can't even see Ruby 3.2. It's like right there on the line. And then it gets even worse with more complex statements. More complex regular expressions that are like very, very vague. It just goes really bad really quick, even with like only 30 even after like 30 characters. So after about 20, like around 25 characters, it starts taking more than a couple seconds. It just blows up. The improved matching algorithm allows for regular expression matching about 9% in our experiments to be completed in linear time. Yep, I mean, because it's a line. This optimization may consume a memory proportional to the input length for each match. We expect no practical problems to arise because of this memory allocation is usually delayed, and a normal regular expression match should consume at most 10 times as much memory as the input length. If you run out of memory when matching a regular expression in a real application, please report it. Okay, so I guess part of the memory optimization here is since they're doing memoization, they're shoving things into memory to analyze stuff. So that runs the the theoretical risk of running out of memory, but since it's delayed, they don't really expect it to happen. Okay, so regular expression timeouts. So the optimization above cannot be applied to some kind of regular expressions, such as those including advanced features, back references, and lookarounds. Yeah, so that's like more advanced regular expression stuff, or which huge fixed numbers of repetitions as a fallback measure, a timeout feature for regular expression matches. Okay, so like if it's super complex and they're trying to do if they're trying to deny, trying to run that denial of service attack, it'll just time out. No, it won't keep on trying to match. So now regular expression timeout is a global configuration. If you want to use different timeout settings with some special regular expressions, you may want to use timeout keyword for the regular expression .new. Okay, so you can specify. So if you want to do it if you don't want to timeout, you can override it when you're defining a regular expression. Other notable new features syntax suggest. Interesting. So the feature of syntax error formerly dead end is triggered into Ruby. This helps you find the position of errors such as missing or superfluous ends. So get ends to get you back on your way faster as such in the following example. So yeah, so before, like if you were missing an end, I'm pretty sure we've all experienced this. If you're doing it with Ruby, it's like sometimes it's a little vague. You're trying to find where the end is. Like it doesn't exactly say like it's a syntax. So that's cool. Unmatched end, missing keyword. So it's like it's trying to show. That's cool. Now highlight error. Now it points to the relevant arguments and type error and argument error. Okay, so now we're getting like more detailed where in the statement did it go wrong. So instead of just saying this statement is incorrect, there's an error here. It's actually telling you here's where it exploded. So cool. All right, so anonymous rest and keyword rest arguments can now be passed as arguments instead of just used in method parameters. Oh, okay. So if we're just doing a catch-all so if you're expecting, if you're just, you don't know if you have an indeterminate amount of arguments coming into the method, you can now just pass that indeterminate amount of arguments through. So if food's going to get some argument, you can just do star and pass that star to bar. Here, again, a bunch of arguments, we can just pass it to whatever we're using. So makes it easier to just pass the rest of the arguments through. JavaScript has something similar. Has always had something similar with the rest spread, I think is where it's comparable to that. So a proc that accepts a single positional argument and keywords will no longer auto splat. So a proc that accepts a single positional argument and keywords will no longer auto splat. So if we have two arguments, if we have A and then the rest, and then you try to call, and then it just returns back A, and then you try to call that with arguments 1 and 2 before Ruby would just return back 1, and Ruby 3.2 will return back 1 and 2. So it's not gonna auto splat. So it's not automatically gonna pull the extra arguments. Oh, I see. Yes. So this is one whole argument. So auto splat. So it split this up. I see what the bug is. So so even though this proc can take 2 arguments, technically, this is only one argument because it's a single object, an array. Yes, there's 2 arguments. There's 2 items in the array, but there's no second argument to the call. There's no comma second argument. So before Ruby 1, it would just splat this, strip it apart, and then do 1 and 2 here. But really it should have just been that individual, that object, that specific object, which is an array. So it fixed that. Okay. Consistent assignment evaluation order for constant set on explicit objects has been made consistent with single attribute assignment evaluation order with this code. So v2 foo bar equals baz. Foo is now called before baz. Similarly, for multiple assignments to constants, left to right evaluation order is used with this. So yeah, okay. I mean, that's what, okay. So I guess this is a bug because like traditionally with programming, you would expect the left to be evaluated before the right. So we'd evaluate foo, bar, and then assign baz to bar, and then for the same thing here. So we would expect, I would expect foo1 bar 1 to be assigned baz 1 and foo2 bar 2 to be baz 2. So the following evaluation order is now foo1, foo2, baz 1, and then it would evaluate these two. Okay, so yeah, definitely a bug. Not something I ever encountered, but okay. The find pattern is no longer experimental. The find pattern. Methods, let's see. I'm curious about this. What is the find pattern? The find pattern was introduced in 3.0 and it's still marked as experimental. Don't see any problem, but it's time to promote it to official. By the way, it was useful in writing code in the following for a practical example. So I guess it's this pattern right here to find array in, I've never used this. Interesting. For pattern matching. The find pattern. Subpattern, 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 blah, blah, blah. So this is the pattern here. So we have this case statement of 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then this is similar to Elixir, where we do this pattern matching. So we expect inside here, in there, to have an integer and an integer. That does match. Does it match? No, it doesn't, because there should be a third. With this is a 3-item integer. This is declaring a 2-item integer. This one is an object trying to see if this object or this hash matches this, where a is an integer. That does match. So we're trying to see if this hash is empty. It doesn't match. No. This does match. The shape of this. So this will not match. The pattern having the keys other than it. So this is like checking, like, oh, we want a integer and then nil for the other keys. Nope, that doesn't match. This shouldn't match because there's a second argument here. We checking if a is there, b is there, and then we don't, and then there's nothing else, and that does match. Okay, well, I learned something new. I guess you don't explicitly need parentheses. Okay. Okay. I'll probably share that with work. All right, so let's see. Methods taking a REST parameter like star args and wishing to delegate keyword arguments through foo star args must now be marked with Ruby2 keywords if not already the case. In other words, all methods wishing to delegate keyword arguments through star args must now be marked with Ruby2 keywords with no exception. This will make it easier transition to other ways of delegation once a library can require Ruby 3+. Previously, the Ruby2 keywords flag was kept if the receiving method took star args, but this was a bug and inconsistency. A good technique to find potential missing Ruby2 keywords is to run this test suite, find the last method which used receive keyword arguments for each place where this test suite fails and use puts nil caller. So puts nil caller nil there, and then check that method block on the call chain, which must delegate keywords. Okay. So this is more of like a transition to 3 versus 2. So you could continue to use star args, because star args is no more. So actually worked. Needed just like it's okay. Okay. So MIJIT is the MATS compiler. MIJ compiler is re-implemented in Ruby as MIJ compiler executed under forked process instead of doing it in native thread. Cool. Okay. Just bundler stuff. Other notable changes since 3.1. Okay, so new core class represents simply immutable values. The class is similar to struct. So okay, so data. Under the data, a new core class to represent simple immutable value object. The class is similar to struct and partially shares an implementation, but has more lean and strict API. So I was reading an article about this, that you can basically define an immutable struct. Basically, it's like defining an immutable struct. You just set it, you set the values, and that's it. You can't change it or anything like that. So it's just easier, manageable, immutable information. The example being data. So that's the new. So it has the same interface as a struct, where you kind of define a data object, or kind of like a struct class, where it has an amount and unit, and then you can define it. You can instantiate it with those amounts, and then you can just, I guess you can define it by keyword too, and then you can access it, but you can't modify it. It looks like you can modify it here though, because we define it here. So you have to, you can only explicitly change it this way. That's interesting, because it's supposed to be immutable, right? So I guess you just can't it's immutable in the traditional manner, but if you need to modify it, then you do .with, because it doesn't create a new, it's not pure. It's not a functional thing. It's just modifying the existing object. Again, well, that's new. I didn't know you could. When I was reading it, they were just talking about the fact that you can't change it, but you can still modify it with. Okay, so hash shift now always returns nil if the hash is empty, instead of returning a default value or calling the default proc. Okay, cool. Proc, so module using, okay. So some new stuff added. Proc returns an instance of subclass. So duplicating parameters, not access to Lambda keywords. Okay. All right. So abstract syntax tree. So the AST. Okay. Metaprogramming type stuff. Set now available as a built-in class without the need for require set. Okay. It is currently all loaded via set constant or a call to enumerable to set. Okay. And then struct class can also be initialized with keyboard arguments without keyword init true on struct new. So let's see. So a struct can also be initialized with keyword arguments without. Okay, so let's see. So So define a struct, setting the values of ID and hello, and then do it this way too. Okay, so yeah, now you can just do keyword initializing of the struct. That's nice. That's actually something I can incorporate in some of the code that exists for one of our clients. So I like that. I'll have to make a note of that. Very much like. Following deprecated constants are removed now. File like this. Following deprecated methods are removed. Okay. C API updates. So this is for the C layer for stuff. Let's see. Standard library updates. A bundler, Ruby gems, ERB, IRB, debug gem integration commands have been added. So debug, break, catch, index, delete, They work even if you don't have the gem and debug in your gem file. I like. More prior-like commands and features have been added. Okay, so they made the new debugger more robust. So you don't actually need pry. Or if you alternative. And then a bunch of default gems were updated that are just built into Ruby. And then the SHAs. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Good stuff. So let's take a look at the Ruby playground. So this is Ruby in the browser. Ain't it? Welcome. Playground, you can try Ruby code like the official Ruby documentation included. That's cool. There was another article that one of the team members posted about Ruby in the browser. Let me see. I haven't read it yet, but let's go find it. Yeah, 41% faster. No more reject. All right, so someone just this article was read by okay, so this person just read through the release notes and posted it. Okay. And just summarized it. We made it in early. Okay. Okay, whatever. So we've already read this, or we basically already read this because this is just recapping the existing article that we were just reading. And Ruby Playground has the C Ruby version with, where we can do Ruby in the browser, which is really, really cool. Through the webbiest of assembles. Sorry, I was just reading something. Let's see. We only have about 10 minutes left, but the other thing I wanted to cover, other than Ruby, to start off the new year, was RedwoodJS. I was actually pretty excited because RedwoodJS, someone in the community released a RedwoodJS OAuth library. Let's see. This isn't it. This is someone else. Let's see if we can go find it. Yeah, it was by Pioneer Pat. They have documented stuff. Let's see if they have. And then they released a package for it. Let's see. OAuth 2 client Redwood. I think this is it right here. So this is exciting because now so Redwood, before Redwood, I mean, Redwood had other types of authentication. They have just standard, was it DB, regular DB auth where you can use your name, password, login and stuff like that. They had other auth-like integrations. And now, someone went in from UseKeyP. They open sourced their OAuth 2 solution for Redwood, which is really exciting. And that means you can build with Redwood and use OAuth 2 providers like Discord and Twitch and to have people log in and get their OAuth tokens and and create bots and stuff like that with Redwood. So we can use the ease of building with Redwood and add OAuth to that. So I 100% want to build on top of our Redwood template and try seeing how difficult it is to integrate this in and try to implement things like Twitch login, since we're already on Twitch. Maybe we'll do YouTube OAuth also or something like that. Because why not? But yeah, so this is the other thing that's super exciting. And we didn't get to getting around to building anything with it today, but I want to try to tackle this on the next stream, where we will try to integrate this into a Redwood. Looks like it's a nice guide. There should be there should actually be an npm library for this, and actually npm. Let's see. OAuth 2 Red. Let's look up OAuth 2 Redwood. If I can spell Redwood correctly. Here we go. OAuth 2 server Redwood. So OAuth 2 server with dynamic client registration and test API built with provider for RedwoodJS. So this one's still in development, but this is the type of stuff I want to. Last published was 2 hours ago, so they just released a new version. Authority means that you're providing authentication or authorization as a service for other apps. For example, sign in with my company as opposed to sign in with Google. If you're looking for to implement OAuth 2 client, okay, so this is the authority, and then if you want to do it with the client, and then this is where we get to back over here. Okay, great. So I wanted to make sure, so that makes you an authority, but we're just trying to integrate this. So I want to follow this guide, definitely. Or looks like this is an existing app with OAuth 2 integrated in. if you're using a provider with authorization, skip to that. So if you're using a provider with only for authorization, then skip to step 3. So we already, in our app, we already have this, although we are going to need to add necessary dependency. And then we already have our user model, but we're going to have to extend our user model, adding access token, refresh token, OAuth. Let's see. This looks like it only allows for, this implementation only allows for a single provider. So include any additional data for the provider you want to store in your database. For example, if you want to store a user's Twitch username, you can add it to the user model. I think if we were to approach this, I would want to do a completely separate table as a provider. Code challenge created user. So let's see here. Yeah, so I think we're going to spend we'll be spending a little bit of time looking at this and implementing this, but tweaking the modeling, because it'd be better if it could handle multiple providers, because it's like things like StreamYard, other applications, it allows you to do connections with Twitch, with YouTube or Instagram or any other provider, Google, and it sucks that if you can only do one provider. So it'd be better to expand that and have that work for multiple providers. Because that would be the more scalable way to go. Yeah, so this would be fun. This would be a fun project to do, to implement this. But that is it for today. Thanks so much for hanging out and checking out the stream. And hopefully you learned a new thing or two about Ruby with Ruby 3.2 out. And yeah, we'll be attacking Redwood stuff starting next Friday. So I will catch you then, and have a great weekend. So stay happy, stay healthy, and I will catch you next time. Peace.